Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! The relentless pounding on the door rattled the frail walls of the studio apartment. It was clear that the person outside demanded entry, their intention unmistakable. Inside, Brian paused, cereal spoon suspended halfway to his mouth, and glanced at the clock, a mere hair past 12 on a lazy Sunday. "Just a second!" he yelled, placing the bowl aside and standing up. He ran his palms over his messy sweatpants, smoothing down the creases as he walked towards the source of the racket. Unabated, the knocking grew louder and more urgent with each passing second. As Brian opened the door, a burst of cold wind greeted him, along with an unexpected visitor who could rival the gust in intensity. She had the furious gaze of a feral cat, her tangerine tresses untamed as they cascaded over her shoulders. Dressed in a flowing amber gown that clung to every contour, she appeared to have just walked off a glossy magazine cover. "Get out of my way!" She shoved Brian aside and strode into the dimly lit apartment, her heels clicking against the wooden floor. "What?" "I know he lives here." "He's not here," Dennis said, closing the door. "He left yesterday. Said something about a weekend trip to Vegas." The woman froze, her hands balled into fists at her sides, knuckles white. "Vegas! Of course!" She dug into her purse and pulled out her phone, thumb swiping furiously across the screen. "Look at this." She thrust the phone at Dennis. On the screen was a banking app showing several recent transactions, airline tickets, hotel charges, and what appeared to be nightclub reservations. "All on my credit card," she said, voice trembling with rage. "The card he borrowed just for emergencies when we started dating. The bastard maxed it out and blocked my number." Dennis ran a hand through his uncombed brown hair. "I'm really sorry. That's terrible. You're Megan, right? I think I've seen your picture on his dresser." "That would be me." She dropped onto the couch, the fight seemingly draining out of her. "God, I need a drink." "It's a little early, but..." Dennis moved to the kitchen and returned with a bottle of whiskey and 2 glasses. "Special circumstances, I guess." Megan accepted the glass gratefully. "Thanks. You're Dennis, aren't you? Richard mentioned you a few times. Said you were kind of a homebody." His words. Dennis poured 2 fingers of whiskey into each glass. "That's one way of putting it. I prefer selectively social." He offered a small smile. "Though today's social calendar definitely didn't include console roommate's girlfriend after he steals her credit card." A surprised laugh escaped Megan's lips. She raised her glass. "To unexpected company, then." 3 hours and several drinks later, they'd moved from the couch to the floor, sitting cross-legged with the nearly empty whiskey bottle between them. "So, then," Megan was saying, gesturing with her glass, "he has the audacity to tell me I spend too much on clothes while he's buying $100 steaks for his business dinners." She made air quotes with her fingers. Dennis shook his head, feeling the pleasant buzz of alcohol. "Classic Richard. Last month he lectured me about using too much hot water while he was taking 40-minute showers." "God, what did I ever see in him?" Megan sighed, leaning back against the couch. The movement caused her dress to shimmer in the afternoon light, streaming through the windows. Dennis found his eyes drawn to the fabric, admiring the way it draped and caught the light. The deep red color was striking, and he wondered what the material felt like. Megan caught his gaze and tilted her head. "See something you like?" Heat rushed to Dennis's face. Sorry, I was just... Your dress is really nice. Instead of looking offended, Megan's expression shifted to something more curious. You know, I've noticed you looking at it a few times. She leaned forward. Are you interested in fashion, Dennis? Dennis's throat felt suddenly dry. This was the kind of conversation he never had with anyone. Sort of? Megan prompted, her eyes bright with interest rather than judgment. Something about the whiskey, or maybe Megan's disarming smile, loosened Dennis's usual reserve. I've always been curious about women's clothes, how they feel, how they look. He stared into his glass. It's stupid. It's not stupid, Megan said firmly. She studied him for a moment. You know, I bet you'd look cute in this. She plucked at her dress. Dennis nearly choked on his drink. What? Megan was already standing, smoothing down her dress. I'm serious. You're what, a size bigger than me? Not by much, though. She walked around him, appraising. You've got good shoulders, but you're slim. Nice legs, too. You're not freaked out? Dennis set his glass down carefully. By what? That you might like wearing dresses? Please. Megan waved her hand dismissively. My cousin performs in drag shows. My best friend from college transitioned 3 years ago. It's the 21st century, Dennis. Dennis stood, feeling strangely lightheaded, and not just from the alcohol. I've never really told anyone. Well, now you have. Megan smiled. And unfortunately for Richard, I happen to have an overnight bag in my car with a few outfits. I was supposed to stay at his place this weekend. Her smile turned mischievous. Want to try something on? 15 minutes later, Dennis stood in his bedroom, holding a silky blue blouse Megan had retrieved from her car. His fingers trembled slightly as he touched the material. I'll wait out there, Megan said, pointing toward the living room. No pressure, just if you want to try it on with the skirt, I think they'll look good together. Left alone, Dennis stared at the blouse and the black pencil skirt Megan had laid on his bed. His heart pounded in his chest. How many times had he browsed online stores, quickly closing the tabs when his roommate came home? How many times had he imagined what it would feel like? Slowly, he removed his t-shirt and jeans. The blouse slipped over his head with a whisper, the cool fabric sending a shiver down his spine. It fit well enough, though tight across the shoulders. The skirt was next, and he had to wiggle a bit to get it over his hips. Dennis turned to the mirror mounted on his closet door and froze. The person looking back at him was different. Not entirely himself, not entirely someone else. The blue of the blouse brought out the warmth in his brown eyes, and the skirt, though snug, created a silhouette he'd never seen on himself before. A soft knock at the door startled him. "How's it going in there?" Megan called. Dennis opened the door, resisting the urge to cross his arms over his chest. I don't know what to say." Megan's face lit up. "Oh my God! You look amazing! That color is perfect on you!" She circled him, nodding approvingly. "We need to make a few adjustments, though. May I?" At Dennis's nod, she tugged the blouse here and there, showing him how to tuck it into the skirt properly. "The secret is creating the illusion of curves where you want them," she explained. "Fashion is all about optical illusions anyway." As Megan fussed with his outfit, Dennis felt a strange sensation building in his chest, something like relief mixed with excitement. "I never thought I'd actually do this," he admitted. "I've wanted to for a long time."
"Well, we're just getting started,"
Megan declared. She reached into her bag and pulled out a makeup kit. "Now, how do you feel about a little foundation?" By dusk, Dennis barely recognized himself in the mirror. Megan had worked magic with her makeup brushes, softening his features and emphasizing his eyes. His lips now bore a soft rose color that Megan said complemented his skin tone, and his brown hair had been styled to frame his face differently. "The finishing touch," Megan announced, returning from another trip to her car. She held up an auburn wig, similar to her own hair color but styled in a sleek bob. "I use this for cosplay sometimes. Want to try it?" Dennis nodded, unable to find words. When Megan carefully placed the wig on his head, adjusting it until it sat naturally, something clicked into place. The person in the mirror now looked complete in a way Dennis had never felt before. "You need a name," Megan said, standing beside him as they both gazed at his reflection. "Who are you looking at right now?" The name came to Dennis immediately, as if it had been waiting all along. "Kora," he said softly. "Her name is Kora." Megan smiled. "It's nice to meet you, Kora." That night transformed into something neither of them had expected when Megan first pounded on the apartment door. They ordered pizza, drank wine, and talked for hours, not as strangers thrust together by circumstance, but as newfound friends sharing secrets. Megan taught Kora how to walk in the burgundy stilettos she'd brought along. Start with small steps and remember, shoulders back. How to sit in a skirt, knees together, angle to the side, and a dozen other small lessons that Kora absorbed eagerly. "Let's take a picture," Megan suggested after they'd finished the wine, "to commemorate Kora's first night out." "I'm not out," Kora pointed out, but she was already positioning herself beside Megan for the selfie. "Figure of speech," Megan laughed, holding up her phone. "Smile." The photo showed two women, cheeks flushed with wine and laughter, looking like they'd been friends forever. Kora stared at it, transfixed. "Send that to me?" she asked. "Of course." Megan forwarded the photo. "So, what happens now?" Kora looked up from the phone. "What do you mean?" "With Kora," Megan clarified. "Is she just visiting tonight, or—" The question hung in the air between them. Kora touched the hem of the blouse, feeling the silky material between her fingers. "I don't think she's just visiting," she said finally. I think she's been waiting to come home." Megan reached over and squeezed her hand. "Then I say we take her out properly. Girls' night next weekend? I know a few places where you'd be more than welcome." "You'd do that?" Kora asked, voice catching. "After this therapy session you've given me by listening to my Richard rants? Absolutely." Megan grinned. "Plus, I have a feeling you'll be a much better shopping companion than he ever was." Kora laughed, feeling lighter than she had in years. "It's a date." The week that followed was the longest of Kora's life. By day, Dennis went to his job as a graphic designer, sitting through meetings and replying to emails, all while thinking about the auburn wig and blue blouse hidden safely in his closet. By night, Kora emerged, practicing makeup techniques Megan had taught her, and wearing the few items Megan had generously left behind. Richard called once, asking if that crazy bitch Megan had come by. Dennis feigned ignorance and quickly ended the call. Friday finally arrived, bringing with it a text from Megan. "Still on for tonight? Pick you up at 7. Kora spent hours getting ready, meticulously following the steps Megan had shown her. The foundation went on smoothly, followed by concealer, powder, and blush. She struggled a bit with the eyeliner, but managed a passable attempt after several tries. The auburn wig was last, carefully positioned and secured. Standing back, Kora assessed her reflection. The black pencil skirt and blue blouse still looked good, but something was missing. After a moment's hesitation, she reached for the top dresser drawer and pulled out a lacy bra she'd secretly ordered online earlier in the week. It took some adjustments and creative padding, but the result was a subtle, feminine silhouette that made Kora's heart race with validation. At precisely 7 o'clock, the doorbell rang. Kora opened it to find Megan dressed in a deep purple jumpsuit, her hair styled in elegant waves. "Wow," Megan breathed, looking Kora up and down. "You've been practicing. You look incredible." Kora felt a blush warm her cheeks. "Thanks. So do you. Ready for your first night out?" Megan held out her arm. Kora hesitated for just a moment before nodding and taking Megan's arm. "As ready as I'll ever be." Their first stop was a small bistro on the quieter side of town. Megan had chosen it deliberately for its dim lighting and relaxed atmosphere. As they were shown to their table, Kora felt dozens of eyes on her, certain everyone could tell. But as the minutes passed and no one stared or whispered, she began to relax. "What did I tell you?" Megan said, sipping her wine. "You look completely natural. Nobody's giving you a second glance, except maybe that guy at the bar, but that's because you look hot." Kora nearly choked on her water. "Stop it. I'm serious. The blue blouse was a good choice. Brings out your eyes." Megan leaned forward. "So, have you thought about what happens when Richard gets back?" The question caused a knot to form in Kora's stomach. "Not really. I mean, I can't exactly explain Kora to him." "Why not?" Megan raised an eyebrow. "You're adults. It's your life." Richard isn't exactly open-minded. Kora adjusted her napkin. "And anyway, it's more complicated than that. I don't think Kora is just a now-and-then thing." Megan studied her face. "You mean?" I think this is who I am," Kora said quietly. "All the time." Megan reached across the table and squeezed Kora's hand. "Then that's who you are." After dinner, they moved to a nearby cocktail lounge where the music was good but not too loud to talk. Kora felt more confident with each passing hour, especially with Megan beside her, offering quiet guidance or encouragement when needed. "Look at you, walking in those heels like a pro," Megan observed, as they found a small table in the corner. "Took me years to master stilettos." "I've been practicing all week," Kora admitted. "In my apartment. I probably drove the downstairs neighbors crazy." Megan laughed. "Dedication. I respect that." As they sipped their cocktails, Megan's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her expression soured. "Richard. Finally remembered I exist, I guess." "What does he want?" Kora asked, trying to keep her voice neutral. "To explain. Says it was all a misunderstanding." Megan rolled her eyes. "And he'll be back tomorrow. Wants to meet up." Kora felt a pang of anxiety. "Are you going to?" "I don't know. Part of me wants to rip him a new one in person." Megan set her phone down with more force than necessary. "But honestly, I'm having a much better time right now than I ever did with him." The rest of the evening passed in a blur of conversation and laughter. By the time they left the lounge, it was past midnight, and Kora felt as though she'd known Megan her entire life. "Stay at my place tonight," Megan suggested as they walked to her car.
"It's closer, and I have more clothes you can try."
Kora hesitated only briefly before nodding. "I'd like that." Megan's apartment was exactly as Kora had imagined it. Stylish but comfortable, with artwork on the walls and plants in every corner. While Megan changed into pajamas, Kora wandered around the living room, examining photos in frames.
"That's my family,"
Megan said, returning in silk pajamas and offering Kora a set of similar ones in soft green.
"My parents, my sister, and my cousin I mentioned.
The drag performer." Kora studied the photo more closely.
"You all look so happy."
"We are, mostly." Megan shrugged.
"They're supportive. Not perfect, but they try."
She nodded toward the pajamas in Kora's hands.
"Bathroom's down the hall if you want to change."
In the privacy of Megan's bathroom, Kora carefully removed her makeup, following the instructions Megan had given her. She slipped off her wig, setting it gently on the counter, and changed into the pajamas, which felt impossibly soft against her skin. When she emerged, Megan was sitting on the couch with 2 mugs of tea. She looked up and smiled.
"Still Kora without the wig?"
Kora touched her short brown hair self-consciously. "Is that okay?"
"Of course it is. Kora isn't the wig or the clothes. She's you."
Megan patted the spot beside her. "Come sit. I want to ask you something." Kora settled onto the couch, accepting the mug of tea.
"What's up?"
"What are you going to do about Richard? About your living situation?" Megan asked.
"I don't know,"
Kora admitted. "I can't afford the apartment on my own.
And finding a new roommate who's okay with all this."
She gestured to herself.
"Move in with me,"
Megan said suddenly. Kora blinked.
"What?"
"My roommate moved out last month. I've been looking for someone new anyway." Megan shrugged, as if she hadn't just offered a lifeline. "The rent's reasonable split between 2, and I've got a spare bedroom just sitting empty."
"But we barely know each other,"
Kora protested weakly, even as hope bloomed in her chest. "We know the important things." Megan counted on her fingers. 1. We both hate Richard. 2. We get along great. 3. I could use help with rent, and you need a place where you can be yourself. Put like that, it seemed so simple. "You're sure?" "Positive." Megan sipped her tea.
"Besides, I've got twice the closet space now. Plenty of room for Kora's wardrobe to grow."
They stayed up late into the night, planning and talking. When Kora finally drifted off to sleep in Megan's guest room, wearing silk pajamas, it felt like the beginning of something real. The next morning, Megan drove Kora back to her apartment to pack some essentials. Richard's return was imminent, and neither of them wanted to be there when he arrived.
"Just the basics for now,"
Megan advised as Kora threw clothes into a duffel bag.
"We can come back for the rest once we've figured out what to tell Richard."
Kora nodded, moving efficiently around the room. She packed her laptop, some clothes, toiletries, and, after a brief hesitation, the auburn wig and the few feminine items she owned. They were nearly finished when they heard the front door open.
"Dennis?"
Richard's voice called from the entryway.
"You home?"
Kora froze, eyes wide. Megan squeezed her arm reassuringly. "It's okay," she whispered. "I'm right here." Taking a deep breath, Kora opened the bedroom door and stepped into the hallway. She was dressed in jeans and a t-shirt, her brown hair unstyled, but something in her posture and expression must have been different because Richard stopped short when he saw her.
"What's going on?"
he asked, looking between Kora and Megan, who had emerged behind her. "Megan, what are you doing here?" "Helping a friend," Megan said coolly. "Something you wouldn't understand." Richard's eyes narrowed.
"Dennis, what the hell is she talking about? And why are you both carrying bags? Are you going somewhere?"
The moment stretched taut between them. Kora could feel her heart pounding, taste the metallic tang of fear in her mouth. But beneath the fear was something stronger, a certainty that had been growing since the first moment she'd looked in the mirror and seen herself truly. "My name is Kora," she said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "And yes, I'm moving out." Richard blinked, confusion crossing his face before understanding dawned.
"Wait, what? Is this some kind of joke?"
"No joke," Megan said, taking a step forward to stand beside Kora. "And by the way, you owe me $4,000 for the credit card charges." Richard's face flushed red. I was going to pay you back." "And what do you mean your name is Kora? What the hell is going on here?" "I'm transgender," Kora said, the words feeling both strange and perfectly right on her lips. "I'm moving in with Megan while I figure things out. I'll come back for the rest of my stuff later this week." Richard's mouth opened and closed several times. "You can't just leave! The lease is up in 2 months," Kora finished for him. "I'll cover my share until then. After that, you're on your own." She moved toward the door, Megan right beside her. Richard stepped into their path, his expression hardening. "This is crazy. You can't seriously be doing this. Dennis, come on, man. This isn't you." "That's where you're wrong," Kora said quietly. "This is me. For the first time, this is actually me." She shifted her bag to her other shoulder. "Please move, Richard." For a tense moment, it seemed like Richard might refuse. But then he stepped aside, shaking his head.
"This is insane. Both of you are insane."
Kora walked past him, chin high despite the churning in her stomach. Megan followed, shooting Richard a withering glare. "By the way," Megan added as they reached the door, "we're over, in case that wasn't clear." They left Richard standing in the middle of the apartment, his mouth still hanging open. Neither of them spoke until they were in Megan's car, bags stowed in the back seat. "Holy crap," Kora breathed, hands trembling in her lap. "I just did that." "You sure did." Megan started the car, a proud smile spreading across her face. "How does it feel?" Kora considered the question. The adrenaline was still coursing through her veins, making her feel shaky and a little sick. But underneath that was a sense of lightness, as if she'd set down a heavy burden she'd been carrying for years. "Terrifying," she admitted. "But also, right. That's usually how the most important decisions feel." Megan pulled away from the curb. "Now, let's go home and figure out what to do next." The next few weeks were a whirlwind of changes. Kora moved officially into Megan's spare room, gradually bringing over more of her possessions from the old apartment during times when Richard was at work. He hadn't tried to contact her, which was both a relief and strangely hurtful. Megan proved to be the ideal roommate and friend. She helped Kora build a wardrobe piece by piece, offering advice on styles and fits. They spent evenings practicing makeup techniques, watching tutorials online, and discussing the future. Have you thought about talking to someone professional? Megan asked one night as they sat on the couch, painting their nails in matching shades of burgundy. About transitioning, I mean. Kora nodded, focusing on applying the polish evenly. I made an appointment with a therapist who specializes in gender identity for next week. That's great! Megan blew on her nails. Want me to come with you? Would you? The relief in Kora's voice was palpable. I'm nervous. Of course I'll come. What are friends for? Megan leaned over to examine Kora's handiwork. Nice job. You've got a steady hand. Years of detailed graphic design work, Kora explained with a smile. Finally paying off in unexpected ways. They fell into a comfortable silence, the television playing softly in the background. Kora thought about how much had changed in such a short time. 6 weeks ago, she'd been living as Dennis, hiding who she truly was, feeling disconnected from her own life. Now, she woke up each morning as Kora, wore clothes that felt right, and was taking steps toward making her external reality match her internal truth. I need to tell my parents, she said suddenly, before I go further with any medical steps. Megan set down her nail polish. How do you think they'll take it? I have no idea. Kora stared at her burgundy nails. We're not super close. I talk to them maybe once a month, usually just surface-level stuff. Whatever happens, you're not alone, Megan said firmly. You know that, right? You've got me. And I have friends who've gone through this, who can help too. Kora felt tears prick her eyes. How did I get so lucky? Walking into my apartment that day, angry about Richard. I think we both got lucky, Megan said, bumping her shoulder against Kora's. Now stop getting sentimental before you ruin your nails. The therapy appointment went better than Kora had dared to hope. Dr. Levine was kind and knowledgeable, asking thoughtful questions without judgment. With Megan in the waiting room for moral support, Kora found herself able to articulate feelings she'd suppressed for years.
What you're describing is very common, Dr. Levine assured her. Many transgender women report knowing something was different from a young age, even if they didn't have the words for it. They discussed next steps, continued therapy, possibly starting hormone replacement therapy if Kora decided that was right for her, legal name change procedures. It seems overwhelming, Kora admitted. That's why we take it one step at a time, Dr. Levine said with a gentle smile. There's no rush and no single right way to transition. This is your journey. When Kora emerged from the office, Megan looked up from her magazine expectantly. It was good, Kora said, feeling lighter than she had in weeks. Really good. She's going to help me figure out a plan. Megan stood and hugged her. I'm so proud of you. The call to Kora's parents came next. She sat at the kitchen table, phone in hand, rehearsing what she would say. Megan had offered to leave for privacy, but Kora wanted her there, a silent support. Her mother answered on the third ring. Hello? Hi, Mom, Kora said, her voice higher with nervousness. How are you? Dennis, what a nice surprise. We're fine. Just got back from the Andersons' anniversary party. Your father's out back grilling. Mom, I need to tell you and Dad something important. Is now a good time? There must have been something in her voice because her mother's tone changed immediately. What's wrong? Are you sick? No, I'm not sick. Kora took a deep breath. Mom, I'm transgender. I'm a woman. I've started going by Kora. The silence on the other end of the line
stretched so long that Kora checked to make sure the call hadn't dropped. Finally, her mother spoke. "I don't understand. What do you mean?" Kora explained as clearly as she could, drawing on the language Dr. Levine had helped her practice. Megan squeezed her hand supportively as she stumbled through the explanation of gender dysphoria, her lifelong feelings, and her recent steps toward living authentically.
"This is very sudden,"
her mother said when Kora finally fell silent. "It doesn't feel sudden to me," Kora replied quietly. "It feels like I've been waiting my whole life to say it out loud." There was another long pause.
"I need to process this and talk to your father."
"I understand." Kora tried to keep the disappointment from her voice. "Will you call me back? Or I can call you tomorrow."
"Let me call you,"
her mother said, sounding tired. "I love you, Kora. I'm trying to understand." After they hung up, Kora sat staring at the phone, emotions swirling. "She didn't hang up on me," she said finally. "And she used my name at the end." "That's something," Megan agreed. "Give them time." It took 3 days for Kora's parents to call back. When they did, the conversation was awkward but not hostile. They had questions, many questions, and concerns about her safety and happiness. But beneath their confusion was a tentative acceptance that gave Kora hope.
"We want to meet with you,"
her father said gruffly.
"See you. Talk about this face to face."
"I'd like that," Kora told him, tears welling in her eyes. "Maybe in a few weeks? When I'm more comfortable with everything."
"Whenever you're ready,"
he agreed. "Your mother wants to know if you need anything." The question caught Kora off guard. What do you mean?"
"Money, help with doctors, whatever."
Her father cleared his throat.
"We want to support you, even if we don't fully understand yet."
The tears spilled over then, running down Kora's cheeks. "Thank you, Dad." The following months brought more changes. With her therapist's letter of recommendation, Kora began hormone replacement therapy. She legally changed her name to Kora Marina Lawrence, keeping her middle name as a nod to her mother, Marina. She grew out her brown hair, watching as it gradually reached her shoulders, and donated the auburn wig to a support group for transgender women who couldn't afford their own. Work presented its own challenges. Coming out to her colleagues was nerve-wracking, but the small design firm where she worked had a surprisingly progressive policy. Her boss arranged a meeting where Kora could explain her transition to the team, and while there were some awkward moments and occasional slip-ups with pronouns, most of her coworkers were supportive. Through it all, Megan remained her steadfast ally and friend. They settled into a comfortable roommate routine, sharing meals and shopping trips, helping each other through bad days, and celebrating victories together. "I've been thinking," Megan said one evening as they sat on their small balcony, watching the sunset. "We should have a party." Kora looked up from her book. "What kind of party?" Welcome to the world party for Kora." Megan grinned. "It's been 6 months since you moved in. That's worth celebrating, don't you think?" The idea both thrilled and terrified Kora. Who would we invite? "Your work friends, my friends who you've met, maybe your parents if you're comfortable with that." Megan ticked off names on her fingers. "Nothing huge, just a chance to celebrate how far you've come." Kora thought about it. 6 months ago, she'd been living a half-life, hiding her true self from everyone. Now she woke up each day as Kora, living openly as the woman she'd always been inside. Her appearance had softened with hormones, Her wardrobe had expanded beyond that first blue blouse and black skirt, and while there were still hard days, they were outweighed by the joy of finally being authentic. "Let's do it," she decided. "A small gathering sounds perfect." The party, held on a warm Saturday evening in their apartment, turned out to be exactly what Kora needed. Surrounded by people who saw her for who she truly was, she felt a sense of belonging that had eluded her for most of her life. Her parents came, slightly awkward but genuinely trying, her mother bringing a homemade cake with "Congratulations, Kora" written in blue icing. Coworkers mingled with Megan's friends, and the apartment buzzed with conversation and laughter. "How are you doing?" Megan asked, finding Kora in a quiet corner, observing the gathering. "Overwhelmed, but in a good way." Kora smiled, tucking a strand of her now shoulder-length brown hair behind her ear. "I never imagined having this many people who accept me." "You deserve every bit of it," Megan said, linking her arm through Kora's. Kora Marina Lawrence had come into her own.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!